You scroll through a timeline and see a friend from school just bought a house or apartment. Another just launched a business. Someone else is getting married, having kids, traveling the world, or finishing their second degree. Meanwhile, you feel like you're still figuring things out. A quiet panic brews inside. I should be further by now. That gnawing thought repeats like a mantra of inadequacy. This feeling that you're behind can be one of the most paralyzing beliefs. It creeps into your mind and poisons your sense of direction, whispering that it's too late, that everyone else is ahead, that you've missed your moment. But is it real, or is it just a trick of perception? The Stoics knew this illusion well. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Do not waste what remains of your life in speculating about others. It is not how long you live, but how nobly you live." The Stoics did not measure life in milestones reached or accolades collected. They measured it in clarity of mind, strength of purpose, and the courage to act now. This video is for the one who feels like they're behind. It's for the one comparing, hesitating, doubting. And it's here to help you change your mindset, not by pretending life is easy, but by showing you how to master yourself and live with intention. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Comparison is the thief of clarity. The feeling of falling behind often starts with comparison. We measure ourselves against timelines, expectations, and the curated success stories of others. We look at people who are walking entirely different paths and hold them up as silent judges of our own worth. But what the Stoics remind us is that comparison is not only a drain on our energy, it is a distortion of truth. It is a flawed mirror that reflects a life that is not ours and invites us to feel inadequate by standards we never agreed to in the first place. Seneca wrote, "No person has the power to have everything they want, but it is in their power not to want what they don't have." This simple idea is radical in a world obsessed with status. When we compare, we often unconsciously inherit desires that aren't even our own. We think we want their job, their lifestyle, their success. But what we really want is the feeling of being validated, of being safe from judgment, of being enough in the eyes of others. Comparison is rarely about the object of envy. It's about the fear of being less. And this fear clouds our vision. Comparison blinds us to our uniqueness. It pulls our focus away from our own journey and convinces us that value lies somewhere else, usually in someone else's hands. But how can you walk a straight path if your eyes are constantly fixed on others? The Stoics taught us to look inward for our direction. Your only real competitor is not your peer, not your sibling, not your colleague. It is the person you were yesterday. That is the only comparison the Stoics would entertain, one that leads to growth, not shame. Each time you allow your attention to be hijacked by what someone else is doing, you're giving away your time that could have been used for purposeful action, quiet reflection, or deepened self-understanding. The person you envy may very well be running a race that you were never designed to run. They may be living a life that would not satisfy your soul if it were handed to you. And even if they are truly flourishing, that does not mean you are failing. The sun does not compete with the moon. Your path is yours. Their progress has nothing to do with your worth. To the Stoics, comparison was a spiritual distraction, a temptation to abandon your own soul in pursuit of someone else's shadow. You're not here to mimic. You're here to live fully as yourself. And that means setting your own standard, honoring your own timeline, and giving yourself the grace to evolve without pressure. Let this be your reminder. The feeling of falling behind is not a fact. It is a story you are telling yourself. You can rewrite that story today, not by racing to catch up, but by standing still long enough to realize you were never off course. The path was always beneath your feet. You only had to look down, breathe, and take the next step. Write down 3 recent moments when you felt behind. Then ask yourself, who was I comparing myself to? What standard was I using? Was it rooted in my values or in insecurity? Next, define one personal value of yours, for example, growth, honesty, or creativity, and then outline a small action to move toward it today. Shift your gaze from others to your own direction. Chapter 2. Time is a tool, not a trap. One of the most common beliefs that fuel the feeling of being behind is the idea that we've wasted too much time. It begins with haunting phrases we say to ourselves in silence. I'm too old. I should have started years ago. I've missed my window. These thoughts are more than self-criticism. They become mental chains that bind us to regret and prevent us from stepping forward. They turn our past into a prison and the present into a courtroom where we endlessly put ourselves on trial. The Stoics, however, viewed time through a different lens, one grounded not in urgency but in awareness. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. At first glance, this may seem somber or even harsh, but in truth, it is a profound liberation. This reminder isn't meant to frighten us. It's meant to wake us up. It pulls you out of the fog of what could have been and places your feet firmly in what is. If your story isn't over yet, then your opportunity hasn't passed. The presence of life is the presence of power. As long as you draw breath, you have a chance to realign, to act, to live with purpose. You haven't wasted time, you've lived. Maybe not with perfect clarity, maybe not with a perfect plan, but life doesn't require perfection to be meaningful. The past is not a record of failure, it is a record of becoming. Every detour you took, every moment you paused, every chapter that didn't unfold the way you expected, they were not voids, they were lessons. They were shaping you in unseen ways, tempering your understanding and sharpening your character. What you label as wasted may have been necessary. It may have been the very thing preparing you for this exact moment. The Stoics didn't seek to erase the past. They sought to learn from it, honor its teachings, and walk forward with eyes wide open. Time is not your enemy. It's not a tyrant keeping score or a judge counting missteps. It does not hold grudges. Time is neutral. It does not punish or reward. It reveals. It reveals where your attention is, where your values lie, and how your habits reflect your priorities. It is a silent companion, always beside you, ready to be shaped by your will. It is a field left open, waiting for you to plant something worthwhile. And this is where Stoicism becomes especially sharp. The past is unchangeable, but the present is yours to command. In mastering the present, even in small, consistent ways, you redeem the time you thought was lost. You bring light to the darkness of regret. The idea that you're behind is rooted in the illusion that there is a single, correct timeline, one linear sequence of achievements and milestones that everyone must follow. But that's not truth. That's programming. It's the script written by society, echoed through family expectations, social media highlight reels, and cultural pressure. It whispers that there's a certain age for everything, a time for success, for love, for growth, and if you miss the mark, you're forever trailing behind. But that narrative is not law. It's fiction. The voice of culture is loud, but the voice of reason, the voice of the Stoics, is steady and calm. It reminds us that each path is unique, and borrowed blueprints often lead to borrowed regrets. The Stoics taught us to reject these externally imposed standards. They asked us to stop chasing shadows and start designing a life that aligns with our nature. To live fully, we must stop measuring our progress with someone else's ruler. We must turn inward and ask, what is mine to do right now? What choices are within reach? What matters to me, deeply and honestly? To be present is to be powerful, Not because it's trendy or romantic, but because presence is the only arena where action, change, and clarity truly exist. The future is a theory. The present is a responsibility. What matters most is not the distance you've covered or the accolades you've collected along the way. What matters is your willingness to begin again, and again if necessary, right where you are, in the middle of the doubt, in the aftermath of delay, the next conversation you choose to make meaningful, the next hour you reclaim with intention, the next decision you make from a place of courage, not compliance or fear. When you live from that space, not from comparison, not from panic, but from grounded presence, the illusion of being behind loses its grip. You stop running toward an imaginary finish line and you start living a deliberate life. Each small, purposeful action you take today becomes a silent declaration. I still have something to offer. I am still part of the unfolding story. I am not late. I am ready. When you meet life with attention and intention, you begin to dismantle the false narrative of lost time. That effort, no matter how modest, becomes the first step out of the fog. It builds clarity. It fuels self-respect. It becomes your proof that you were never stuck. You were simply being invited to rise again with deeper awareness. Growth has never been dictated by the calendar. It has always been about the honesty of your direction and the depth of your presence in the moment before you. Set a timer for 20 minutes and work on something that matters to you with full focus. No distractions, no multitasking, no scrolling, just you and your intention. This is not urgency, it's dignity. This is not hustle, it's alignment. This is Stoic discipline in motion, not chasing time, but choosing it. Reaffirm to yourself, I have time because I have now, and now is always enough to begin. Chapter 3. Action is the great equalizer. You can study all the philosophy you want. You can journal your thoughts, analyze your fears, map out your dreams. You can talk to mentors, read books, and rehearse every possible outcome in your mind. But until you act, it's all potential, not progress. The Stoics were not armchair philosophers. They were people of motion, men of action who understood that truth is not found in contemplation alone, but in the way you carry yourself when it matters most. Epictetus put it bluntly. Don't explain your philosophy, embody it. You don't catch up to life through thoughts, you do it through effort. Stoicism is not a theory to be admired, it is a practice to be lived. That doesn't mean you need grand gestures or flawless execution. It doesn't mean you have to wait until you're certain or until everything feels right. It means you need to move, however imperfectly, with the courage to begin even when the outcome is uncertain. The moment you act with intention, no matter how small the step, you shift from powerlessness to momentum. Action transforms potential energy into real movement. It's not just a gesture, it's a statement, a signal to your mind that you are capable of influencing your direction. You begin to reconnect with your agency, your ability to shape the course of your life through deliberate effort. You're not behind, you're ahead of everyone who's stuck in self-pity, trapped in the echo chamber of what-ifs and some days. That cycle of delay and regret is only broken by action. By acting, you interrupt that cycle. You claim your power not with words or aspirations, but with movement. Every inch forward becomes proof that you are alive and engaged. You're already winning because you've made the leap from thinking to doing. That leap, no matter how minor it may seem, is the bridge between stagnation and change. It turns wishful thinking into meaningful motion. Action cuts through confusion like a blade through fog. It dismantles the illusion of impossibility. It simplifies what once felt overwhelming and brings shape to formless fear. It's the medicine for overthinking, the cure for regret, and the antidote to comparison. The moment you act, you become present in a way that thinking alone never delivers. Each step you take, however uncertain, teaches you more than 1,000 thoughts ever could. Movement clarifies your values by forcing you to confront reality. It exposes your fears and pushes you past them. It reveals what's real, and it shows you who you are when it counts. Even when the path ahead is unclear, taking a step forward reshapes the landscape beneath your feet. What once seemed immovable begins to respond to your will. Action is clarity in motion. Thinking prepares, action reveals, and revelation is the birthplace of transformation. The Stoics taught that our control lies not in outcomes, but in effort. They believed the good life is not defined by how much we achieve, but by how earnestly we strive in alignment with reason and virtue. Results may come, or they may not. The outcome might be success, or it might be failure. But what matters most is your willingness to show up. The act of trying, honestly, consistently, courageously, is where dignity lives. The ability to move, consciously, deliberately, is always within reach, even when everything else feels like it's slipping through your fingers. Every action becomes a chance to reclaim your sense of power. Every step forward says to the world, I will not be passive in the shaping of my life. That is resilience, that is wisdom, that is the Stoic ideal in practice. Every deliberate act becomes a declaration of autonomy. It is a sacred defiance against helplessness. Every meaningful effort reminds you that you are not helpless. You are responsible. You are not waiting on permission or perfect conditions. You are choosing the moment over the fantasy. You are stepping into what the Stoics called the Logos, the rational, divine order of life, through your own choice to contribute, to participate, to live fully and fearlessly. It is not comfort that defines progress, but courage. Every moment of effort is a rebellion against despair, a quiet stand against the myth that you must have it all figured out before you begin. The idea that you need a flawless plan is a lie that keeps you stalled. You don't need a map to start walking. You don't need certainty to make progress. You don't need mastery to begin the craft. You don't need to be perfect. You only need to be willing. You don't need to know the whole road. You just need to take the next step. And when you do, you'll discover that step leads to the next, and the next. And soon, momentum replaces hesitation. Confidence replaces fear. Clarity replaces confusion. Until suddenly you are no longer behind. You are becoming exactly who you were meant to be, one decision at a time, shaped not by circumstance, but by choice. Identify one thing you've been delaying because you feel behind. It could be exercising, reaching out to someone, starting a project, learning a skill, or having a difficult conversation. Commit to doing it today for just 10 minutes. The goal is not perfection, it's movement. Let action break the illusion. Let this be the day you chose to act, and in doing so, began to lead yourself forward. Chapter 4. The Power of Defining Success for Yourself. Much of the anxiety about being behind comes from adopting someone else's definition of success. You see someone with a thriving business, a picture-perfect family, a prestigious job title, or a lifestyle that gets applause, and you assume that must be the gold standard. You internalize that image without questioning whether it aligns with your truth. But the Stoics warned us not to chase shadows. They taught that imitation often leads to emptiness, and that true satisfaction can only come from living according to your own nature. Seneca said, "If one does not know to which port one is sailing, no wind is favorable." It's not just poetic, it's practical. You can't feel ahead if you don't know where you're going. How can you make meaningful progress if your direction changes every time someone else appears to be doing better? Without a clearly defined aim, your life becomes a drifting vessel, carried by the current of others' opinions. you must stop and ask, what does success mean to me? What does a good life feel like, not look like? Success must be redefined, not by society, not by marketing, not by family expectations, but by you. What does a successful day look like? Is it a day of peace, where you're calm and present? A day of creation, where you brought something into the world that didn't exist before? A day of service, where you helped another human being? The world will try to sell you a version of success based on external symbols. But if those symbols don't align with your values, they'll never satisfy your soul. The Stoic life was one of clarity, discipline, and virtue. Not wealth, not fame, not recognition. Marcus Aurelius had all three and still reminded himself daily that they were distractions. What mattered was integrity, living in accordance with reason, acting from principle, and serving the common good. If you don't define success on your own terms, the world will define it for you, and then convince you you're failing. It will dangle achievements like carrots and keep moving the goalpost until you're exhausted and still feel inadequate. When you live by someone else's measure, you will always feel behind. There will always be someone who appears more accomplished, more admired, more advanced. But when you live by your own principles, ones that reflect your deepest values, every step becomes a victory. Every action aligned with your purpose becomes a success. The noise of comparison quiets. You stop measuring distance and start measuring direction. You realize you're not behind. You're walking your path with intention. Success, for the Stoic, is not a destination. It's a way of living. It is how you rise each morning and how you carry yourself through the day. It's in the honesty of your decisions and the quality of your character. The world can keep its trophies. You have something more enduring, inner alignment, and once you find that, no one can make you feel behind again. Take 10 minutes to write your own definition of success. Be honest and go deep. Ask yourself, what brings you genuine fulfillment, not just fleeting satisfaction? Is it peace? Is it creativity? Is it deep connection or meaningful progress? Is it waking up with purpose or going to bed knowing you lived with integrity? Don't settle for cliches. Dig beneath the surface. Describe what a successful day looks like from the moment you open your eyes to the moment you rest your head. How do you want to feel? What kind of impact do you want to make? Who do you want to be in your quietest moments? These are your anchors. Then ask yourself, what's one small daily habit that would move me closer to this? It could be 5 minutes of reflection, an act of kindness, focused work, or turning off distractions to be present. Whatever it is, make it practical and repeatable. Commit to adding this action to your daily routine, not as a box to check, but as a sacred step toward living by your own terms. Start defining success through action, not intention. Every small effort becomes part of a larger architecture that supports your unique definition of a good life. That's Stoicism in motion, principles lived, not just understood. Chapter 5. Embrace the season you're in. Not every season is for harvesting. Some are for planting, others are for healing, learning, or simply surviving. The Stoics understood that nature moves in cycles, and so do we. They reminded us that forcing bloom in the middle of winter is both unnatural and self-defeating. To feel behind is to deny the wisdom of your current season. It is to reject the hidden growth that happens beneath the surface. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Everything unfolds in its own time, everything is interwoven, and the web is holy." This is the heart of Stoicism, a trust in timing, a surrender to the order of things, a calm mind in the middle of the storm. Life is not a straight line, it's a rhythm. And like nature, we are sometimes called to be still, to retreat, to mend what has frayed before we expand again. There are times when life demands we slow down, not as punishment, but as preparation. It can feel counterintuitive in a world that glorifies urgency, but this slowing down is not stagnation. It is sacred. The world may not understand this pause. To others it may look like laziness, weakness, or failure. But the Stoic sees something else. The Stoic sees intention behind stillness. The caterpillar is not failing when it is in the cocoon. It is undergoing radical transformation, breaking down what it once was in order to emerge into something new. That transformation is invisible, yet it is where the true work occurs. The soil is not unproductive when it lies fallow. It is recovering, replenishing itself, absorbing nutrients, and restoring balance. The tree shedding its leaves is not dying. It is adapting, conserving energy, preparing to thrive again when the time is right. What looks like regression to the world is in truth renewal. You are not behind, you are becoming. You are undergoing a process of inward preparation. You are gathering energy, absorbing lessons, laying invisible foundations. You are learning the patience to endure, the strength to stay still, and the clarity to see what's essential. You are undergoing internal development that, though unseen, is no less vital. What appears as stagnation to others may in fact be quiet power incubating within you. And in that quiet power, something remarkable is forming. Resilience, clarity, readiness, and deep internal trust. It is the kind of transformation that doesn't demand applause. It demands surrender. The real power comes not from fighting the season you're in, but from recognizing what this specific moment is asking of you. It might not be asking you to accelerate. It might not be asking for results. It might be asking you to rest, to reflect, to release, to confront uncomfortable truths or long-held fears. It may be inviting you to rebuild after emotional collapse, to let go of ambitions that no longer serve you, or to find peace in the ordinary. Perhaps it's calling you to learn how to carry silence, to sit with your thoughts without running, to forgive yourself for the things you thought should have happened by now. There is dignity in slowing down when that is what the soul requires. Sometimes the greatest breakthroughs don't arrive with fireworks. They arrive in moments of stillness, in the pause between chapters, not in the noise of progress, but in the stillness of becoming. Each season of life has its sacred purpose, even if it looks like nothing is happening on the outside. You must learn to revere the unseen parts of your growth as deeply as you celebrate the visible ones. The Stoics understood this deeply. They taught that the most important progress often takes place beneath the surface, where no one sees but you. That's where fortitude is forged. That's where virtue is deepened. The world rushes. The world demands instant results, constant proof of progress, endless productivity. But the Stoic remains rooted. The Stoic listens to nature, listens to the body, listens to the soul. The Stoic honors the season, not by resisting it, but by harmonizing with its rhythm. The Stoic does not measure life by speed, but by alignment. Alignment with virtue, with wisdom, with reason. Trust that your current pace has purpose. Trust that your current limitations are not failures. They are part of your unfolding. Trust that your slowness is not a detour. It is part of your path. The fruit always comes after the root has deepened. And if you are still in the rooting stage, still healing, still clarifying, still growing unseen, then you are not lost. You are being prepared. You are being strengthened. You are being anchored for what comes next. The Stoic knows that life moves in seasons, and wisdom is found not in resisting the season, but in responding to it with grace. Ask yourself, what season am I truly in right now? Building, healing, learning, recovering, grieving, realigning, preparing. Then list 3 ways to honor that season. Maybe it's slowing down your commitments. Maybe it's spending time in solitude. Maybe it's learning something new or simply resting without guilt. Stop forcing a pace that doesn't match your place. Stop borrowing the tempo of others. Your season is sacred. Treat it that way. Chapter 6. Your worth is not your status. We live in a world that rewards status signals, job titles, financial milestones, physical appearance, social followings, material possessions. These are the loud, shiny symbols society holds up as evidence of a life well lived. When people seem ahead, what we often mean is they've checked the boxes that others admire. But what happens when those boxes have nothing to do with your values? What if you're measuring your progress against someone else's blueprint for a life you never wanted in the first place? Stoicism flips this entire hierarchy. It asks, not what you've achieved, but how you've lived. Not what you've collected, but who you've become. Not what others see, but what you see when you're alone and unfiltered. The Stoics held character as the only true form of wealth. Epictetus, born into slavery and stripped of all outward status, still claimed a kind of internal freedom no emperor could touch. He wrote that a free person is not someone who has everything, but someone who needs little and governs themselves. That kind of freedom is rare because it cannot be purchased or faked. Your worth is not your bank account, your degree, or your relationship status. It's your strength of character, your self-control when you're provoked, your compassion when no one's watching, your ability to face difficulty with calm and courage. These are the qualities that endure when status fades and external praise goes silent. Feeling behind is often a disguised cry for worth. You believe if you had what they have, you'd finally feel like you mattered. You imagine that validation is hiding at the next milestone. But the truth is, your value is not earned through status. It is revealed through integrity. Status can be lost in a moment. Character is built over a lifetime. A person who lives quietly but nobly, who treats others with fairness and kindness, who acts with honesty and discipline, this is someone who is rich in the Stoic sense. Their wealth isn't flashy, but it is deep. The world may not celebrate them, but the wise will recognize them. Stop asking if you've accomplished enough to matter. That question is rooted in a scoreboard mindset, where life is about winning. Ask instead, am I acting according to my values? Am I living a life I can respect? Am I showing up with intention, using what I do have to improve myself and uplift others? That is where true worth resides, not in the illusion of arrival, but in the moment-to-moment decision to live rightly. You are not falling behind when you live with virtue. You are not less than when you live with purpose. You are not invisible if your heart is visible to those who truly see. List 5 traits you admire in people you respect deeply, not celebrities, but people who have left a mark on your life. Then ask, are these traits based on status or character? Choose one and practice it intentionally today. Show yourself that your worth isn't in what you have, but how you live. Chapter 7. Reframe failure into fuel. One of the reasons we feel behind is because we think our setbacks set us back permanently. A failed venture, a missed opportunity, a poor decision. We treat these moments as stamps of shame, permanent marks on our timeline that delay or disqualify us from moving forward. These become anchors we drag behind us, heavy with self-blame, embarrassment, and a false narrative that says, "You blew it." But Stoicism teaches something radically different. It teaches that nothing is wasted, not even failure. Especially not failure. In fact, failure is where much of our strength is born. Seneca once wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." This isn't comfort, it's truth. The Stoics believed that obstacles were not interruptions to the path, but the path itself. Challenges are not side quests or deviations, they are the curriculum. What you perceive as failure is actually a forge. a sacred space where your endurance is tested, your clarity is refined, and your character is formed. You can either collapse under that heat, or you can allow yourself to be shaped by it. The choice is always yours. Your past mistakes do not disqualify you. They are not disfigurements. They are initiations. They are the hidden trials through which you gain the kind of knowledge that cannot be taught, only lived. They prepare you. They humble you. They introduce you to who you are beneath the surface of appearances. Each failure you've survived holds raw material, insight carved from adversity, humility earned in the ashes of pride, perspective gained through loss, resilience built not in theory, but in fire. And yes, perhaps most important of all, a deeper compassion for others and for yourself. That is a kind of wisdom only suffering can grant. But to mine that material, you have to reframe the narrative. You have to stop rehearsing your regrets like a script. You have to stop reliving the moment that broke you and begin asking what it built within you. Stop saying, "That ruined everything." That's not a judgment, that's a spell. Start asking instead, "What did that teach me?" Or better yet, "Who did I become because of it?" Not every loss is loss. Some are transformation. The Stoics knew this well. Seneca, no stranger to exile and betrayal, did not romanticize pain, but he did sanctify it. He saw hardship as a forge, not a punishment, a place where the soul is tempered, the mind is sharpened, and the will is purified. The Stoics believed in the alchemy of adversity, the sacred act of turning hardship into wisdom, pain into growth, pressure into refinement. They taught that life would not always spare you, but it would shape you. You are not your setbacks. You are your recovery. You are not the failure. You are the response. You are not the collapse. You are the rising. You are the scar that tells the story of healing, not wounding. You are the quiet strength you built while putting your life back together when no one was watching. And that strength, earned in silence, earned in private, earned without recognition or applause, is the most unshakable kind. It is rooted, it is real, and it is yours. Behind every mistake you've made is a seed of transformation, but only if you're willing to look at it not with regret, but with reverence. You must stop burying your past in shame and start tilling it for wisdom. The Stoic doesn't avoid failure. They walk through it with eyes open, knowing that the fire is not meant to destroy them, but to purify them. Fire burns away what is false. What remains is truth, and that truth becomes your foundation. The Stoic turns failure into fuel. They don't deny the pain, but they don't worship it either. They use it, they study it, they build with it, and so can you. You can take the weight of your past and use it to ground your future. You can take the ashes of old decisions and shape them into the outline of a better one. You can live as proof that failure is not the end. It is the doorway to the kind of strength that doesn't falter in storms. Take one past failure that still haunts you. Don't rush it. Choose something that still stirs emotion, a moment you replay in your mind, a regret you haven't quite made peace with, a misstep you still judge yourself for. Sit with it honestly, not to relive the pain, but to redeem the experience. Write down 3 things it taught you, not abstract lessons, but personal truths. What did it show you about who you were at the time? What did it reveal about your limits, your blind spots, your resilience? Maybe it taught you how not to treat people. Maybe it exposed an illusion you were clinging to. Maybe it revealed a strength you didn't know you had until you were forced to use it. Then, write one way that failure made you stronger, wiser, or more compassionate. Look at how it changed your posture toward the world. Did it humble you? Did it make you more aware, more cautious, more grateful? Did it soften your heart or sharpen your discernment? Did it teach you to slow down, to listen more deeply, or to lead yourself more honestly? When you write these things down, you begin to see your scar not as a mark of shame, but as a symbol of survival. You turn memory into meaning. You take the event that once dragged you down and use it to stand taller. You become the one who rose, not the one who failed. You become someone forged, not someone broken. That's what it means to turn a scar into strength. That's the Stoic way, to look at the pain squarely, extract its lesson, and walk forward with greater clarity than before. Chapter 8. Choose discipline over distraction. Another reason we feel behind is because we waste time, often not through laziness, but through distraction. Modern life is built to steal our focus. We're constantly reacting to a flood of inputs, notifications, news alerts, group chats, social media scrolls, email pings. Each one pulls us further from our center. We are inundated by stimuli engineered to hijack our minds and fragment our attention. And when we finally lift our head from the chaos, we feel disoriented and overwhelmed by how far we've drifted. The day is gone, the energy is gone, the clarity is gone, and in its place is a quiet shame that whispers, "You're falling behind." The Stoics warned us of this centuries ago, long before smartphones, but their wisdom applies even more today. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You must build your life action by action, not intention by intention, not wish by wish, action by action." Life does not wait for you to focus. It continues. It unfolds, whether you're present or absent, and if you don't take control of your attention, the world will do it for you. It will occupy your time with noise, with meaningless friction, with consumption disguised as engagement. And when you give away your attention, you give away your direction. You forfeit the architect's role in your own life. Discipline isn't about being harsh, it's about being free. Free from the tyranny of impulse, free from addiction to stimulation, free to do what actually matters, consistently and peacefully. Discipline isn't about grinding yourself into the ground, it's about grounding yourself in what counts. It's not chains, it's a compass, a map, a stabilizer. It's the quiet force that keeps you anchored to your goals when the world pulls you toward easy comfort and empty distraction. And like any skill, discipline grows stronger with practice. You are not behind, you are distracted. And distraction is a fixable problem. Every moment is an opportunity to come home to yourself, to return. Come back to your breath. Come back to your priorities. Come back to your values. Come back to the task that matters most right now. That return, however simple, is a victory. It's a win against chaos. It's proof that you are still in charge of where your life is going. And every time you make that return, you become just a little more focused, a little more present, a little more in control. That is what the Stoics practiced, reclaiming the moment, one breath at a time. Identify your top distraction. Is it your phone, the news, aimless browsing? Create a 2-hour block today without it. Replace it with a meaningful task: reading, working, planning, journaling. Experience the mental clarity that discipline delivers. Chapter 9. Progress is a direction, not a distance. So often we think of progress as distance covered. We judge our lives based on how many boxes we've checked, how far we've advanced, or how close we are to some imagined finish line. This mindset can make you feel perpetually behind, like you're forever lagging in a race no one else seems to be running. We tie our self-worth to visible milestones, to the pace of others, to the illusion that life moves in neat, upward lines. But the Stoics challenge this illusion. They remind us that the real measure of progress isn't how far you've gone, but which direction you're facing and how intentionally you're walking that path. Seneca once said, "If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable." You don't need to be far along to be progressing. You only need to be facing the right way. Even a step of just a few inches, if aimed toward the good, is more meaningful than a mile in the wrong direction. Every conscious step, no matter how small, taken in the direction of virtue, clarity, and purpose, is progress. You can be standing just a few feet into your journey and be more on track than someone who's traveled far but wandered aimlessly. The difference isn't in the length of the road, it's in the alignment of the path. You may feel behind because your progress doesn't look dramatic. Maybe your growth is internal. Maybe it's quiet. Maybe it's the kind of growth that doesn't show up in external achievements just yet. You're not collecting trophies, but you're shedding ego. You're not getting noticed, but you're becoming more honest with yourself. The Stoics valued substance over spectacle. They looked at the invisible work, restraint, reflection, perseverance, as the highest form of mastery. The small act of choosing discipline today, of holding your tongue in a moment of anger, of getting up after being knocked down, that's progress. That's real movement, even if it happens in silence. We often discount the invisible victories, the temptation resisted, the reaction controlled, the day started again after it seemed lost. These acts may not receive applause or recognition, but they are the foundation of personal transformation. They are signs of inner strength being cultivated quietly, without noise or display. The world may not see these moments, but you feel them deeply, and they are what shape your character. They are victories of discipline, of clarity, of choosing your higher self over fleeting emotion. But these are the wins that build a life of stability and depth. These are the repeated decisions that, though small in isolation, add up to a powerful architecture of character. Each act of control, each mindful decision, each moment you pause instead of reacting, forms part of the quiet framework that supports everything else. This is how a resilient life is built, not all at once, but brick by brick, choice by choice. The Stoics believed this to be the truest form of progress, for it is self-determined and steady, not reactive and scattered. Every time you steer yourself back into alignment with your values, even after straying, you are proving that you are not behind. You are adjusting. You are not failing. You are refining. You are not late. You are learning. You are not broken. You are maturing. You are becoming more aware, more intentional, more capable of living on purpose rather than being driven by impulse. You are not waiting for life to change. You are changing how you meet life. You are refining your compass with every step. Every time you realign, you deepen your trust in your own ability to find your way back. That is the real power. It's not about never veering off course. It's about always being able to return. And even a single degree of correction today can lead you to an entirely different destination in time. That one act of awareness, of stopping and choosing consciously, becomes the turning point that recalibrates everything else. One small act of clarity, repeated daily, becomes your compass. It reshapes not just what you do, but who you become. It becomes the silent force behind a life of meaning. That's the true meaning of progress. A life lived in the right direction, moment by moment, decision by decision, always within your reach. Choose one area of your life where you feel you haven't made enough progress. It could be your health, your relationships, your discipline, or your sense of purpose. Sit with that area honestly. Ask yourself why it feels stagnant. Are you comparing it to others, judging yourself by unrealistic timelines, or ignoring small signs of growth? Now, take a moment to redefine what progress in that area would look like if you measured it by direction rather than distance. Instead of asking, "How far am I from where I want to be?" ask, "Am I facing the right way? Am I choosing actions that reflect who I want to become? What does it mean to move intentionally in that domain?" Think about what alignment would look like, not perfection. Would it mean showing up with consistency, even in small ways? Would it mean having a conversation you've avoided, setting a boundary, or taking care of your body in a way that reflects self-respect? Intentionality is not about grand gestures, it's about meaningful direction. Then commit to one small step today, just one act that reflects this new mindset of alignment. It could be a journal entry, a walk, a call, or an honest admission. Let this step serve as a quiet declaration that you are not behind, you are engaged, you are not failing, you are correcting. Progress is built through presence, not perfection. And the more present you are with your intention, the less lost you will feel in the noise of the world. Chapter 10. The Power of Consistency over Intensity. When you feel behind, the temptation is to catch up with force. You may think you need a breakthrough moment, a massive change, a radical overhaul, something impressive and immediate to somehow erase the perceived gap between where you are and where you believe you should be. The pressure to prove yourself quickly can feel overwhelming, pushing you to make unrealistic demands on your time and energy. But the Stoics understood something deeper, something steadier, that greatness is not built in bursts, but in repetition. It is formed not in drama, but in discipline. A steady rhythm of right action matters far more than a single sprint of effort. Intensity may ignite a spark, but consistency keeps the fire burning. Epictetus said, "No great thing is created suddenly," and he meant it. True growth is not an event, it's not a highlight reel. It is the accumulation of daily effort, shaped by the choices you make when no one is watching. The Stoic path is a long game, often a quiet one. It is formed by habits, by daily decisions, by the disciplined practice of showing up and doing what matters. It is not the loud explosion that counts. It's the quiet persistence to keep going when things feel slow, unrecognized, and unrewarded. Real transformation does not happen in emotional highs or moments of inspiration. It happens when you live according to principle, even when it feels repetitive or mundane. Consistency is where real change takes root and matures. You may not see results right away. You may not feel like you're making visible progress. But every time you choose discipline over comfort, every time you choose to return instead of quit, every time you take one more small step when it would be easier to stop, you're laying the foundation of something lasting and powerful. One clear day won't change the climate, but 100 of them, repeated over time, will shift the atmosphere entirely. The transformation you seek is not in grand moments, but in your willingness to remain faithful to small efforts. And when you feel tempted to measure your life by dramatic milestones or compare it to those around you, pause and remember, a single drop of water will not break stone, but many drops, repeated steadily and patiently, will. The Stoic lives like the water, consistent, clear, and certain of its long-term effect. This is how mountains are carved, how rivers shape valleys. You don't need one perfect day. You need many honest ones. You don't need a heroic leap. You need committed, steady walking. That is what moves you forward. Not leaps, but steps. Not extremes, but persistence. Not noise, but devotion to the task that lies in front of you today. That's the Stoic rhythm of true growth, humble, steady, and unbreakable. Choose one small habit you can commit to every day for the next 30 days. It should be simple, meaningful, and sustainable, something like journaling, meditating, exercising, or reflecting. Make sure it's not something overwhelming or difficult to maintain, but a practice that can easily integrate into your daily routine, no matter what kind of day you're having. Focus not on doing it perfectly, but on doing it regularly. The power lies not in the scale of the effort, but in the reliability of the act. Over time, this regularity compounds in ways that are profound and transformative. Let repetition become your proof of progress. Each time you show up for this habit, no matter how small the action, you are making a statement to yourself that your growth matters, that you are not powerless, and that you are willing to stay engaged with the work of self-improvement. You are teaching yourself that you are trustworthy, and that alone is a powerful source of momentum. Let the practice, not the performance, define your growth. Don't look for perfection, for flawless execution, or immediate results. Instead, anchor your attention in the act itself. With each repetition, you are reinforcing a new identity, one that is rooted in presence, persistence, and principle. Remember, the Stoics were not concerned with appearances. They cared about alignment, and alignment is built one small act at a time, done consistently and with intention.